Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here to do an episode of Commonalities Compared. This is a show that Ben and I put together. It's his idea. He came up with a concept. Basically, he chooses two rock commonalities. So it could be two guitarists, two bass players, two drummers, two albums, two groups, anything that's rock related, and then I get the task of talking about them and how they compare to each other. So most of the time I try to stick with what's similar, but sometimes there's some things that are different as well. This episode we are going to be doing something a little bit different, and that's why I brought this up, because Ben didn't give me either of these two. He asked me to maybe do an episode in which I pick two and do it. So that's what we're doing today. So I had a couple of ideas, but ultimately I decided that this one made the most sense. So this is the one I'm going to do. So we're doing two live albums from two bands that I think have a lot in common. We're talking about Live at Leeds by The Who and the Kinks, a One for the Road album. So this album, the Live at Leeds one, this one actually has 14 tracks on it. I think the original one had 8. That was released in 1968. This particular version was redone in 1995. The Kinks album, One for the Road, was released originally in 1980. I don't know how many tracks were originally on it. But this particular one has 21 tracks on it. This was released in 99. So a little bit further apart originally, but much closer together second time around when they were released. This one has 21 songs on it, as I said, on this version. This also comes with a second disc in it. This purple disc, which at first appeared to me have nothing on it. I couldn't figure out why would they have two discs when all the songs are on the first disc. But I think this is actually a live version you put in your DVD player and can watch it. I think that's what it is. Well, I'm going to find out later today when I get a chance to do that. So we have two excellent albums. There's lots of things here that they have in common. First of all, they come from two of those original British invasion bands, the Kinks and the Who. At that period in time, bands like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, the Who, they were amongst the original bands to come over as the British invasion. The Kinks and the Who are a little bit in similar. They both are a bit of rowdy bands. And the Who, although they terrorized many hotels in North America, weren't banned from the country where the Kinks were. So basically the Kinks didn't get that exposure that the other bands got. However, this live album, which is a little bit later than the Live at Leeds one, is very similar in that both albums very raw, very kind of hard rockish. For that time period, well, the Kinks one's not so much because it came out later, but the music was very hard. Same as the Who, very hard music, something that you didn't see a lot of at that time period. The songs on here are fantastic. The additional ones that they added to make this then 14 songs, also from that same period, also really good. This is a solid album. Probably one of my favorite live albums, maybe even at times my favorite one. This album is fairly new to me as far as owning it goes. I've heard the album, of course, many times by different people. I've heard some stuff on the radio. Really solid, really raw energy, almost blistering at times, and almost a lot of attitude, which is the same thing you get on this album. A lot of that kind of attitude that the Who were known for, their live shows being boisterous and pompous and bombastic, really raw sounds as well. So those are some of the things they have in common. They're also both four-man bands, although on this particular album, and I'm not sure about the Live at Leeds, but on this one they have a couple of extra guys playing keyboards, which adds to the band. So you've got pretty much the leader of this band is, and the guy who does most of the writing is Ray Davies, whereas for the Who it's Pete Townsend, right? Those are the two big guys. Both bands really good in live, really good live, really raunchous, really boisterous, really heavy live. The albums surely dictate that when you see it. There's a lot of really classic songs on both albums. With the Who, you've got, I'm going to put my glasses on again, you've got songs like I Can't Explain, Substitute, Happy Jack, Summertime Blues, Shakin' All Over, My Generation, and The Magic Bus, all big hits for them, or really well-known tracks. On this one, you've got things like The Hard Way, Catch Me Now, I'm Falling, Where Have All the Good Times Gone, Lola, All of the Day, All of the Night. You've got even Stop That Sobbing, which was covered by the Pretenders a little bit later. That's also on here. And then you've got You Really Got Me, Victoria, amongst the other songs. So you've got some really well-known songs from both bands on the album. I think there's lots of energy going on. There's interaction between the crowd and the band as well. Yeah, just really forward, kind of almost punky in some ways, both of these bands. Almost proto-punky, I guess. They have that attitude going on. So yeah, I love both of these albums quite a bit. This one's still fairly new to me as far as owning goes, but I venture at some point when I do another ranking the live albums, this will be much higher up on it than it was, and will probably be among my favorite live albums. Both really good. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Commonalities Compared, featuring the Who and their album Live at Leeds, and the Kinks and their album One for the Road. If you have, please hit the like and subscription button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And if you have any comments about either of these albums, or you had different experiences with either of the bands, or you've seen something that maybe I should have mentioned and didn't mention, you can do that as well. And we will see you next week with another episode of Commonalities Compared. So take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.